Welcome to the Far Out. In this segment, we're going to talk about all things that one day will help India qualify for the FIFA World Cup. But let's first ask ourselves, is our own sport culture standing in the way of our dream? Every episode will talk about one element that we believe that India needs to focus on if it really wants to play in the FIFA World Cup. Each element as important as the other. Imagine them as one of the cogs of the wheel that will take India over the line. For today's episode, we are going to cover our third element, which is overcoming our contact sport phobia. No surprises there, as it is already given in the video title. Now, phobia is maybe a strong word, but maybe we can rephrase it as general apprehensiveness to play contact sport. And rather than having a monologue of my own, I thought it would be great if I asked one of my friends to shed some light on this subject. So we got one of them today in the form of Gaurav. Hey Gaurav, welcome to the channel. Thank you for taking some time off to do this.
Hey Nis, how are you doing? It's my pleasure to be here and happy to talk to you.
So I remember once we spoke at length about contact sports, especially in our country. Would you like to share your thoughts with those watching?
Yes, I remember our discussion on contact sports why do some sports do better in India and why the others not. And I think one of the points was contact sports, and it was a differential saying, contact sports like football, for example, we probably, want to avoid it as compared to other sports. And my ideas on that were, one is, yes, we probably from a cultural perspective in India, we don't like contact sports. Kabaddi is one thing that comes to mind, which is a big exception. I think that's more historical and cultural purposes. But otherwise, if you see the sports in India which are popular, of course, there's cricket. That's number one, and it's supposed to be essentially a non-contact sport, even though there might be some skirmishes some time or the other. The other ones like tennis, badminton, volleyball, they're quite popular. And I think it's in the end it's the culture probably in the last 70-80 years. That's how it's been. Probably it started from cricket and tennis, and then we've taken it from there.
That is an interesting insight indeed. But I have a question, and I apologize in advance. I feel like I'm throwing you under the bus here. But if we were to have a look at the Arab world, for instance, I mean, culturally speaking, especially when it comes to contact sports, we are not that different. They're not keen on playing contact sports either. So why do you reckon football is popular over there?
Yes, it's an interesting question. If we see from a cultural perspective, the Arab states are our friends over there. If they don't also like contact sports, so why is football so popular? I'd say probably the first reason would be, again, this is my opinion, the proximity to Europe. And hence, when we talk about the UEFA, about the European Championships, about even the World Cup, I mean, the World Cup's been won by European teams since the last 20 years. Last winner was Brazil, 2002. So the proximity plays a part, I would say. One is that, and they have players, very good players, who go and play in these clubs. So knowing that and seeing that they're doing really well, probably more, obviously makes them want to play. India, on the other hand, if we were to compare, we don't have players playing in the Premier League or even in any other league around the world, except probably in India. So I think that's one of the main things. I would say the proximity, as well as having good players who get the chance and have the ability to play in these clubs, and then every young kid, every young child wants to do the same. They want to see what they see what the players are doing. They want to do the same. You and I'm sure we can relate from a cricket perspective. That's what we saw. We saw Sachin Tendulkar, and everyone wanted to be him. Everyone wanted to hold the bat like him, play cricket like him, and that's how it goes. So I hope I try to answer your question, but in my opinion, it's that.
Thank you so much for this, Gaurav. I'll always come back to you to get insights in the future.
And happy to talk to you.
Now I understand some among you who are 20 or 30 something and who would be saying, hey, we got Kabaddi. Now that's a contact sport. To them I ask, when was the last time you played any Kabaddi? So there you go. Again, we are just scratching the surface here. There's so much to talk about this, and it's subjective in a way. We'll definitely revisit this topic in the future too. Now we are going to move on to our next segment, in which we talk about the origin episode takeaway. Previously on the channel, we covered the origins of football in France. Do check out that video over here. So what should India learn from France? What was maybe one takeaway from exploring their origins? Again, what we might talk about would not be only specific to France. We might observe the same fact in some other footballing nation and vice versa. But for the sake of these series of videos, we are going to consider the following as the only takeaway from France. Our takeaway is the omnipresence of football. Let me expand on that to make it more comprehensible. As we saw in the origin episode, football is more popular in the north of France, whereas rugby union more popular in the south. And it has been so since quite a while. Now this is the map of the football clubs which play in the top two divisions of the league in France. And as we can see, there are football clubs in zones which predominantly play rugby, which shows the omnipresence of football in France. It's present in every corner of the country. If we were to talk about India, we are one of the few countries with two fully recognized football leagues which coexist. First, we have the Indian Super League, which doesn't have a relegation system in place, akin to the Major League Soccer in the United States. And the other one is the I-League, which has two divisions. If we were to talk about the Indian Super League and where the franchises are based, we can see nowhere to the north of Mumbai and west of Jamshedpur there are any clubs playing today in the league. Now, the franchise of Odisha FC used to be based in Delhi before they moved to Odisha, but we observe that more than 60% of India is not represented in the league. Now, if we talk about the I-League, other than a handful of clubs which are located in Punjab, Kashmir, Delhi and Rajasthan, most of the clubs are based in the same regions shown on the map for the Indian Super League. We do understand that football in India found its roots in those regions, but in order to cross that threshold of becoming a popular sport in the country, football needs to grow or to tap into in these underrepresented regions of the country. European club football has a decent following everywhere in India, and the north of India is no exception to that. However, to be honest, the domestic football structure in the north part of India is a bit underwhelming. So there's work to be done in that regard. We will briefly give you some statistics about football in France, which we didn't speak about in the origin series. France is a member of FIFA since 1904. It was one of its founding members. Today it has over 18,000 registered clubs spread across the country. France has over 2 million registered licensed players, that is 3% of its total population, which plays football in some capacity, that is amateur, semi-professional or professional. Now, if we were to have the same proportion of people playing football in India, we will need a total of 40 to 42 million, that is 4 crores. So here are our 3 takeaways from 3 football origin episodes so far. Plenty more to come. Now we move on to our next segment, which is India's football history. We had made a separate video of our football history between the period of 1947 and 1954, including the time we qualified for the Football World Cup. You can check out the video over here. As for this episode, we are going to cover the exploits of Indian football team between the period of 1963 and 1970. As we saw previously, 1962 is approximately when what is known as the golden era of Indian football ended. It was that year when we won the gold medal at the Asian Games in Jakarta. 2 years later, following the Asian Games triumph, India participated in the 1964 AFC Asian Cup. Despite their automatic entry into the continental tournament, India managed to finish as the runner-ups, losing out to the host Israel by 2 points. This remains India's best performance in the AFC Asian Cup so far. India returned to the Asian Games in 1966 held in Bangkok. This time, India could not go beyond the group stages as the team finished third behind Japan and Iran. In the Asian qualifiers for the World Cup in England in 1966, India did not even enter the qualifying round. In fact, they did not enter the qualification round of World Cup for another 20 years. There was only one spot up for grabs between the Asian and Oceania confederations, and it was North Korea, the team that qualified for that edition from Asia. 4 years later, during the 1970 Asian Games, which were again held in Bangkok, India took third place during the tournament. The team defeated Japan 1-0 during the bronze medal match. This remained the Indian team's last Asian Games medal till date. In the Asian qualifiers for the World Cup in Mexico in 1970, where again India did not enter the qualifying round, there was again only one spot up for grabs between the Asian and Oceania confederations. And this time it was Israel, the team that qualified for that edition from Asia. So that wraps up this segment 2. Let us know in the comments below of what you thought of this episode of taking India to the World Cup. Do you believe there is a contact sport problem for Indian football going forward? About our takeaway from the France episode, and if there's anything that we missed about Indian football's exploits between the period 1963 and 1970. We are going to talk about our football history of other countries, do some introspection along the way as a footballing nation, and most importantly ask ourselves, what India can do to get our time in the sun at the biggest sporting event of them all.